ESPN New York's Mike Westhoff, former special teams coach of the New York Jets, also has a New York football show on ESPN New York this fall on Sunday mornings from 9 to 11 a.m. He does post-game for the Jets on SNY. And Coach Westhoff, as we look at the New York Jets this year, who has more pressure, Todd Bowles or Geno Smith?
That's an interesting question. That's really an interesting question as to who has the most pressure. I think probably it has to be Geno because he had this same role. This is a new role for Todd, as being a new head coach. So he'll get, he gets a little bit of a hall pass here. Which is very normal for a first year head coach. So Geno it's going to. Will he be able to sustain the job and be the starting quarterback on a greatly improved football team? The biggest question with everyone is Geno.
Okay, Coach, so in regards to Geno Smith, is he going to be able to be the starter for this team the entire year and maintain that starting quarterback position?
There's a gigantic question and challenge to Chan Gailey, their offensive coordinator. Can he mix in the run? Can they play action pass? Can they stretch the defense? Can they become a red zone team like some of the great teams are doing right now when the ball's on the plus 30, not thinking the plus 20? This is a little bit of a change that you're seeing in the NFL today. Things have stretched it because they're trying to stretch the field. These types of things. What will he do? Because Geno, you're looking at a turnover machine. We have 42 turnovers, I believe it is, and 34 interceptions. I think that's pretty close. That's ridiculous. That's horrible.
Yeah.
That has to change. I did not see that change in the practices that I went to. I didn't see it. I saw the same guy. They had a red zone. They had a red zone drill when I was there. That they had 5 interceptions. I've seen 5 interceptions in one drill since I've ever been coaching. That was the worst I ever saw. So that has to change. They've got now. There wasn't the play action pass and the threat of the run, and that made it a little more difficult, and that helped the defense. Yes, but these are things you have to change, and I have not seen it. I expected to see some progression in Geno from where I last saw him play to this now with the new system in their mini camp, and I didn't see that. So we're going to have to find out. But the fact that they can running the football with that greatly improved receiving core, because they've got a guy with Marshall that for 7 straight years he had 1,000-yard receiving seasons. 7. Throw him the ball.
Coach, when you look at Todd Bowles, as you brought up, this is his first year as a head coach. As you watch him go through these steps, what is your takeaway on how quick he's adjusting to the role of being the guy?
Okay, when you ask me that after the preseason, I'll give you a heck of an answer. Because right now, the big questions, I'm not 100% sure. When I went to their practice, I liked what I saw. I liked the organization. I liked the fact that he did a number of drills where they went 1 versus 1, and it was very competitive. Now, they weren't in pads. They had helmets, of course. But in the NFL, trust me, those drills are run at great speed and very good tempo. I was impressed with that. I liked the discipline that I saw in the practice. Now, I didn't like the fact that they almost excluded the kicking game. That kind of bothered me, but that's just a personal quirk of mine. Because trust me, with this offense, they're going to have to kick field goals, and I didn't see a field goal kick the whole time. So that kind of bothered me. Also, what do we know about his game planning, his organization? Because he's got a new defensive coordinator, and new defensive coordinators tend to be a little bit conservative, whereas Todd was a very aggressive guy, ran a 46 defense, and blitzed all the time. Coming off the bus, they were blitzing. So will that change? Clock management. What do we know about his skills there? And these are things that take time to develop. But unfortunately, in the National Football League, you don't get much time. But every game counts.
ESPN New York's Coach Mike Westhoff with Armen Levack on 104.5 The Team. Coach, when you got to go to these Jets practices, how much different is this team, is this environment in the non-Rex Ryan era now with Todd Bowles?
I left here in Florida and flew up to New York right after the draft, because I did draft television shows up there with SNY, and then I came back home. But I flew up my own expense, and I went to one of their OTAs. I wanted to see what these new guys look like. So I drive all the way over to New Jersey, and I go in, and they informed me that the practice was closed to the media. Well, trust me, I was not a happy camper, even though I then learned that I'm no longer – now I'm only a media member.
Right.
And I didn't get in. They didn't let me in.
Wow.
I had to leave. I flew all the way. So I left. I bet Woody Johnson doesn't know that. I hope he listens to your show and finds out, because I bet he wouldn't be too happy.
I have his email. That might happen.
Short.
Yeah.
So I got locked out at the gate, even though I worked there for 12 years. But now, when I was there, when I was able to go in, this is a much better football team. Much better. I mean, I looked at the athleticism of just the way they look physically, and I was impressed. The young man that they drafted, Williams, the first round from Southern Cal, he knocked me right out. I mean, they listed him as 302 pounds. He looked like he weighed 265. I mean, he's all muscle. I was really impressed. I did not, because I didn't really know him personally, I didn't really quite have a handle of how big and physical Brandon Marshall is until I actually stood right next to him. And then I was able to, really be impressed with that. So this is a much, much more gifted football team, and I think really is going to be going to really compete against everybody they play.
Coach, is that primarily because of the new people added, or is there a new workout program in place as well? No,
I would have to. That's an interesting point. I would have to say it's because of the new people added. Obviously, Darrelle Revis. I mean, I'm a big Darrelle Revis believer. In my 30 years in the National Football League, I never saw a player, never, and I mean this, that practiced harder than Darrelle Revis. I saw some that practiced as hard, but nobody any harder. And there was no doubt in my mind. This, in my opinion, he was the singular reason. If you had to pick one, in my opinion, he's the singular reason New England won the Super Bowl last year. Because for the first time in a decade, they were good on defense. Terrible on defense. But this guy is the real deal. So when you look at he and Cromartie, lined up as your corners, and then they brought in the Skrine, the young man from Cleveland, who some people that I know think he's one of the very best, if not the best, nickelback in the NFL. This is a talented enough football team to really compete.
So what are the expectations for Todd Bowles in his first season?
I don't think you rebuild the National Football League. I don't. I mean, you do it in a way, but you can. The system works. You can turn it around and step in and be competitive right now. I predicted they'd go 10-6 and be in the playoffs.
Wow.
Now, that may be panaceic. Maybe I overestimated a little bit, but I looked at that schedule. I think the toughest part of their schedule is in their own conference, in their own division. Because New England's obviously still good, and with Brady and that whole gang and Gronkowski and all those guys. Although I think they've taken a gigantic step backwards on defense. But then Miami's improved, and Buffalo has really improved. So that to me. But you look at the rest of the schedule. Come on, it's a way better schedule than they played last year. So I think they've got a chance to win 10 games and get in the playoffs. So that would be my goal. If I had I would not think of anything less than that goal. That's exactly how I feel. So I'm going to put the pressure on them that they should be there. I don't want to hear 7 and 8 wins or whatever. This team can win 10 and get into playoffs. They can do it. Now they have to manage the quarterback. But you can manage the quarterback. We managed Mark Sanchez and went to 2 AFC Championship games.
ESPN New York's Mike Westhoff, dang, he's good. Former special teams coach for the Jets. His new New York football show on ESPN New York airs this fall, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. You can catch him on SNY after every Jets game as well. Coach Westhoff, you're a busy man. Hope your summer's going well, and thank you so much for spending some time with us today.
Oh, it's great, guys. Anytime. You always have a good perspective, and I appreciate you asking me.